Hello and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Christina Stidham, Digital Content Manager at the Women in Retail Leadership Circle. And today I'm joined by Caroline Danahy, the co-founder and Chief Creative Officer of Fair Harbor, a New York City-based sustainable swimwear company that makes swim trunks and shorts from recycled plastic bottles. Today we're discussing entrepreneurship, sustainability, how to optimize a small team, COVID-19's effect on the supply chain, and much more. So Caroline, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So I wanted to start off with learning more about you and your background. I know you're only 23, so can you talk about your career so far and also the inspiration behind launching Fair Harbor?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do so. So growing up, my family and I spent all of our childhood summers in a place called Fair Harbor, Fire Island. It's where we learned to fish and swim and bike and everything like that. It's also where we saw plastic waste wash up on our shores and onto our beaches for the first time. So my brother and I started Fair Harbor based off of our childhood experiences on the island. And Fair Harbor is actually a really unique place. So the island itself is only about 100 yards wide and it's 20 miles long. So you can quite literally see the ocean from the bay and the bay from the ocean. And it's like a glorified sandbar. So basically, fast forward a bunch of years, and my brother was going to Colgate and he was studying geography and learning more about plastic waste and its impact on our oceans and our overall planet. And, growing up as well, I was actually nicknamed the tree hugger of the family. And I also loved fashion. I had my own fashion blog in middle school and throughout high school. So Jake basically called me up one day and he was like, look, Caroline, I've really been thinking about this plastic problem and learning a lot about it in our studies. He actually spent an entire semester studying about the nitty-grittiness of plastic waste, and we really want to do something about it. So we brainstormed different ways to get involved, and we found this polyester directly made from recycled plastic bottles. And with that, Fair Harbor was born. So basically, our mission with Fair Harbor is to create ultra-comfortable beachwear made from recycled plastic bottles so people can enjoy the places that they love while protecting those places at the same time. And it's really our mission to give plastic waste a second life so it doesn't end up on our beaches and in our communities and the places that we all love and cherish.
That's amazing. I love that. And it's so cool that you got to start a company with your brother. So let's talk a bit more about Fair Harbor's sustainability focus. Obviously, that's a huge part of why you founded the brand. And so far, I saw on your site that you've recycled over 2 million bottles, and that's awesome. So how exactly does the technology that converts plastic bottles into the swim trunks work?
Yeah, absolutely. So sustainability is at the core of Fair Harbor and why we created it. It's really why we set out to create the brand in the first place. But ultimately, most people don't know, but all polyester is plastic. So we actually just take the plastic from bottles that have been discarded to recycling facilities from all over the world instead of the virgin oil. So basically, the bottles get shredded into these pieces, and those pieces then get melted down into these little balls, and then those balls then get melted even further into our thread, and that thread then gets woven into our fabric. We custom blend all of our fabrics to make sure they're incredibly soft and comfortable and durable. So that's kind of the process on that end. But basically, yeah, it's kind of funny though. No one really knows that polyester is made from virgin oil to begin with. So trying to create and spread that awareness about just the amazing technologies and innovations that are out there right now and how we can transform the way people think about consumer products and the products that they wear and how their everyday choices really do have an impact on our overall planet and our lives. So that's kind of where we set out for our own fabrics. And then we also do cleanups. So we organize cleanups up and down the East Coast, primarily bringing people together, bringing our community with one another to clean up the world around them. I think it's an incredibly important part of our brand as well, because once you get out there and you start picking up the trash, you start seeing with your own eyes, how our everyday choices, whether it's grabbing plastic bottles or straws, can really just wash up on our own shores, in our own backyards.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I've used a plastic water bottle in years. I'm with you on that. And I had no idea actually that polyester was made out of plastic. So that makes so much sense that you're able to turn it into the swim trunks. And then I also know that Fair Harbor offers a swimwear recycling program, which I thought was really cool because, of course, when you're buying a new suit, it's probably because your old one is, on its way out. So consumers can send in old bathing suits for store credit at Fair Harbor, and then those old suits are recycled into new products. So now that you've explained, how you turn the bottles into products, I'm assuming maybe that's the same way you are able to reuse the suits. But can you talk about how those products are upcycled, what they're turned into, and also how have you seen that program grow so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So, another part that we set out to make and to enforce with Fair Harbor is to really close the loop with our entire system. So basically, with our RTI, Round Trip Initiative, when people send in their swimwear, we partnered with this awesome organization called To Rewear, and they basically take the products that we send them and they sort them out. So they kind of have a phase one and phase two. So the phase one is to sort through the products. So if they can donate the garments to a charity and to give that suit a second life by allowing people to rewear and through the donations, they first send the bathing suits there. And if it's kind of past the point of rewearing, they go through the reloop phase. And so basically, these garments then get broken down into new textiles, and they can turn into new carpets or new installations and things like that to just give the suits a second life through a new product.
That's amazing. And it's such a good idea. You have so many great and beneficial for the world type initiatives going on. So I also wanted to talk about entrepreneurship, as a lot of our podcast listeners are also entrepreneurs or they're thinking about creating a company in the future. So can you share a little bit about your journey of actually launching Fair Harbor and how you raised capital, how you developed your first line of products, how you listed products online for the first time? Just give a little bit of insight into the actual journey there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we started Fair Harbor, I was a senior in high school at the time, as I said before, and Jake was a junior at Colgate. And we really didn't have any prior experience in the fashion industry. We didn't know how to start a company, but all we knew is that we had a passion and a dedication for what we were doing at Fair Harbor, and we know we needed to start somewhere. So we applied to Colgate University's entrepreneurship program called Thought into Action. When we first started, we actually were chosen to pitch in front of a mock Shark Tank competition at Colgate University's Entrepreneurship Weekend. So we pitched in front of Jessica Alba, MC Hammer, Neil Blumenthal,
Oh,
Jennifer
wow.
Hyman from Rent the Runway. Yeah, and it was a little intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. I was a senior in high school at the time, and pitching our idea in front of 2,000 students at Colgate, where I actually went and attended later. So we were actually awarded $20,000 grant money through this entrepreneurship weekend. And we took that money and invested into our first product run. And so during the summer of 2015, we actually sold out of our first pair of first production run at board shorts in 30 days. So Jake and I kind of turned to each other and we were like, we really might have something here. But really, we didn't have any institutional funding or anything like that. We really took that $20,000, invested into our first product run, and then did trunk shows. So Jake and I traveled up and down the East Coast, doing over 500 trunk shows, selling our product to basically everyone and anyone who would hear our story and test and feel our products out. And so summer after summer, we returned to different beach towns, get feedback and find out how we could improve our product. And we've really been just bootstrapping the company from the bottom up. It's definitely a lot of hard work the way that we did it, but it's really rewarding to really see, the impact that we're having both from sustainability front and then also how far our product has come. From the first board short that we had from running around the garment district of New York City, begging some small factory, manufacturer to just produce a single pair to now what we have. It's really, we're extremely proud of the product that we have, and we've worked really hard to create, the best one on the market, and we're really confident in our product. So it's definitely rewarding to see how far we've come with that.
That's such an exciting journey to go on. That sounds so fun and also stressful, but really, really cool. And speaking of like being a small team, bootstrapping, I know that Fair Harbor is a small company, and I'm sure you're all wearing several hats to get the job done. So can you share how you've optimized your small team? Maybe you work with technology partners for certain areas like marketing or fulfillment, or maybe you use like Slack for communication. Just how have you, gotten through that journey with such a small team?
Yeah, absolutely. We utilize a lot of different technology platforms from Shopify and Slack. Um, but mostly, we're a small team, but we work extremely hard, and we are spread across many different channels and platforms. We also utilize a lot of consultants to work with people, on an as needed basis, and then we kind of fill in for wherever we can. And so we're kind of growing that way. But yeah, we have, we shipped out all of our every package out of our parents' garage until last September, and we finally moved to a warehouse in the end of last September of 2019. And so we're with the fulfillment center out in Connecticut, so we utilize that. But it's really, doing everything that we can in our own time and our own means, and then outsourcing with consultants. And we found that to be really helpful. And so it's also very manageable on a cash front and a budget wise, because we're able to really utilize people when we need them, and then have them work with other clients and other projects to fill their time as an on needed basis.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And since you just mentioned how you're now at a warehouse in Connecticut, I also had wanted to ask about Fair Harbor's supply chain, especially now that we've all been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic for a few months. Did you have to face any changes with how you were, shipping things out to customers, where your bathing suits were being made, anything like that during the crisis?
We feel really we are really fortunate that our supply chain wasn't dramatically disrupted. We had a few days of delays, but it really didn't have a huge impact in the business. However, something really interesting, that a study came out, a report came out, in the end of March, saying that men's swimwear was the number 4 most declining industry during COVID and during the pandemic, as people couldn't travel and beaches were closed and everything like that. And we did feel a little bit of a hit to our sales in the 3rd week of March, when Trump came out, and people were really all just freaking out as the world became a very uncertain place. And we had to dramatically shift our marketing efforts from swimwear to the world's most comfortable and versatile shorts in the market. And I think because we focused the last 5 years on really perfecting our product and making sure that it really is the best shorts in the market, we were able to lean into different characteristics for people to wear them inside and working out and lounging around the house. So it was really important and a pivotal time for us to really adjust our marketing efforts and really lean into different characteristics of our shorts to show how they could be worn during this time inside and, in backyards and everything like that. And it was also an interesting time in the fact that in the latter part of March, a lot of larger players really cut their marketing spend, which allowed marketing to become cheap again. And so we really leaned heavily into our different marketing channels and tested other marketing spots, such as radio and podcasts and things like that. So while our supply chain didn't feel any disruption really, our marketing efforts definitely pivoted during the time of COVID.
Yeah, we've been hearing that a lot. Definitely that you've had to, change your messaging. Like you said, you can't rely on, marketing that talks about outdoor activities or things at beaches, going on vacations, since that's not really happening. I don't know when that will happen again. But that's awesome. I didn't realize that, you had switched up your messaging like that. So that's really interesting to learn. And so let's change gears here a little bit. We talked a lot about entrepreneurship and business stuff, but I'm curious if you've had any strong female mentors who might have helped you throughout your journey so far. And also, who would be the one woman that you most look up to today?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question because, as I am a young entrepreneur and, learning so much as we grow and continue to push forward, I've learned from a young age that it's incredibly important to surround myself with people who are professionals in their own industry and can teach me a lot, both on a personal level and on a professional level. And so for men and women, I've found a lot of mentors over the years that I feel really fortunate to be close with, and I can lean on them for different parts of just where they have their own strengths. And as I said before, both on a personal and professional front, I think the woman that I've become really close with right now is this woman, Jenny Olson. She actually went to Colgate, so she's a Colgate grad, and she's a CMO of Untuckit. And she's taught me so much about, how to be just a great leader in her office, and also just a great person, how people can lean on her in so many different ways. And I think she's a genius in her field, and she's really warm and inviting and welcoming, and just everything that she does. And she's definitely, my biggest role model right now and who I've been looking up to.
Yeah, I love that. I'm very familiar with Untuckit. That's great that you guys are connected. I also wanted to ask, as a young female entrepreneur, what advice would you give to your younger self, when you were first starting out, or maybe to other young women who are taking a leap of faith and starting a brand?
I think it's incredibly important to be confident in yourself and your thoughts, and, your own feelings, and also to find passion and purpose. And I think that, if we can all find passion and purpose in what we're doing, that the world would be, a great place. And I think that if I could look back in my own self, being a young female entrepreneur specifically, I've been in the room a lot of times, or calls, and specifically Zoom calls now, with a lot of men, and older men to that point as well. And I think it's just being strong, confident in my own really drive to want to do what we're doing, and just be, sure about the choices that we're making, but also, be okay with who I am and the fact that I am learning so much, and I have a lot more to learn as we continue forward too. So I think that just being confident, being sure about yourself, and finding passion and purpose is, I think, the biggest advice that I could give myself if I look back on the last 5 years.
Yeah, that is excellent advice. And I think that can apply to anybody at any age, not just somebody who's young and just starting out. So that's great advice. And Caroline, for my last question, I'm wondering what Fair Harbor has planned as we head into 2021. And maybe there's a women's swimwear line, or is a similar expansion in the works?
Yeah, absolutely. While we don't necessarily have women's in the forefront of our expansion efforts, we've experienced a lot of exciting momentum and growth in the past few months, and we're really excited to continue pushing forward. We have a lot of cool new products launching in the latter part of the year, and early next year, so make sure to definitely stay tuned. I can't necessarily give too much away right now, but I think we have a lot of exciting products on the horizon, and we're looking forward to continue to pushing forward.
Yeah, well, best of luck. I'm excited to, stay tuned and keep watching to see what you guys do. So thank you, Caroline, so much for joining me on this episode of Women in Retail Talks. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Christina. I really appreciate it as well.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com/podcast for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.